So welcome back to Outdoors with the Morgans. I have a short and sweet story time for you today. I am outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania right now, and I'm sitting about an hour from my house. Now, I haven't been down in this area for probably about 30 years, but I was driving on this road here today, and it reminded me of a good story that happened right about here. You see this wall of rock right here? This goes up hundreds of feet. I don't even know. I'm guessing 500 feet to the top. And if you look close, you can see those lines in the rock. That's called pre-split. Now, as many of you know, I was a blaster for years, and I actually worked on this job. I'm guessing it was about 30 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But that pre-split, what we would do, we would drill 3.5-inch diameter holes on 3-foot centers in a nice straight line, and then you would use pre-split powder, and when you would detonate that shot, it wasn't a real powerful explosive, I guess you could say, but all it would do would break from hole to hole and give you that nice straight wall rock. It would only work if you had good competent rock though, like the sand rock right here. So this was like a road widening job, but we also had to take care of some safety issues. What was happening was rock from way up above there was falling down on the road. So what we did, we came in and kind of widened things out, and then we trimmed off any overhangs and things like that. What we did, we had a big crane down here, a real big crane with a platform, and we put an air track drill on that platform, and we'd be up there like 150, 200 feet in the air, drilling into that wall of rock, and then we would blast that stuff down here by the roadway. Obviously, there was no traffic when we were doing that. And this job lasted a while. I must have been down here 4 or 5 months, if I remember correctly. And on this side over here is a big river, and on the other side of that river there used to be an old steel mill. Now, that steel mill wasn't in operation when we were working here. It was already out of business. So you got a big wall rock, the road, railroad tracks, river, steel plant on the other side. Now, one day in particular, when I was down here blasting, I had a bit of a problem. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it may have been a misfire. And what happens when you have a misfire, part of the shot goes off, but not the entire shot. And that's kind of a dangerous situation because what happens is the part that did go off fractures a bunch of the rock, and then the holes that are still loaded, when you shoot it again, can cause fly rock. And fly rock is exactly what it sounds like, rock that flies through the air. So when I had this misfire down here, I think what we did, if I remember correctly, we brought some equipment in and we piled a bunch of material in front of the shot because we didn't want it flying down onto the railroad tracks. They were pretty particular about the tracks. You know, when we were drilling and blasting way up above, we had to be careful not to roll any big boulders down that would damage the railroad tracks. As a matter of fact, after each shot, they had people would come inspect the rails, make sure there wasn't any damage. Well, on this particular day, the good news was the shot did not hit the railroad tracks. It went over the railroad tracks. Some of the rocks went into the river, and one rock went the entire way across the river like a rifle bullet and went through a transformer on a power pole. Now, when I detonated the shot for the second time, shot the rest of the misfire, I knew immediately we had a problem. However, after the dust cleared, we realized that the railroad tracks were not damaged. Yes, we put some rocks in the river, but all in all, it seemed like things were going to be okay. Well, it was brought to my attention a couple days later that we had hit this transformer over at the old steel plant. And if you're not familiar with those things, I don't know a lot about them, but they have some kind of oil in them that is hazardous. Well, it leaked all that oil on the ground. It turned into like an environmental cleanup. It was a whole thing. I think the total bill for that transformer was about $20,000 for the cleanup and to replace it. We tried negotiating with them because it was not in use or anything like that, and probably never would have been used again, but they wanted it replaced, so that's what we did. And all taken care of. Probably another 10 years later, it was all torn down and disappeared anyways. So that is my story down here that I wanted to share with you. And you may be wondering what I'm doing down in this area. Well, I'll give you a little clue.